the 5th race of Rising Phoenix, and today we will be taking this amazing race at one of the fastest circuits on the calendar, which is Spain, Catalonia. So I'm looking for some interesting overtakes into the first corner, and that's pretty much it. Maybe someone going wide in the third corner, sweeping turn, right sweeper. But anyways, we will start with qualifying here at Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya in Spain. And hopefully we will see some good battles, especially in the midfield, which has proven to be quite competitive in terms of qualifying times. So there's where we will see the most battles. Maybe some carnage into the first corner, or after the second DRS zone into the hairpin. I'd say it's a hairpin. Well, firstly we will be doing qualifying. So at Sochi in Russia, Sochi, we saw some good times set in the middle of the session, but the best times came at the end where nobody expected it, especially from Diglett, Peril, who is FX Hidden, and Bazooka. Those guys had some good times, but first out will be car of Cobalt in the Force India, followed by Colin in the Red Bull, and then followed by Button and Dead in the Alfa Romeos. So what I want to see is these drivers setting good times at the fast circuits such as Catalonia, but we will probably see some drivers taking it easier for the chicane, which has proven to be quite hard, but also one of the main corners that you need to be very confident in to get the speed on the straights. But anyway, we will see Cobalt now crossing the line, starting his lap, and I want to set the telemetry on. So first corner, taking it quite easy, not trying to slip, but it takes the second one wide, going through the third sweeping turn, going quite wide, but keeping it on the track. Now into fourth. Quite not the best corner in my opinion, going quite wide. We go into the fifth, braking a little bit too late, but he keeps it going nicely. Into the sixth corner, sweeping turn, 7th, which is 8th. Now the recognized chicane going quite good, but it slips a little bit on the outside. He has no ERS to use, and now he opens DRS to try to get the first time of the session with a 121.5 as he slowed down before. And we have Colin up with, Colin with 121.5, Cobble didn't at the time. Button started going with a 119.07. As we have Hyper over the line with a 121.2, making him 4th. And we have Swanee with 122.3. Followed by probably TJ here and the other Merc. Setting 120.9, making him 4th. Around 2.5 tenths faster than Hyper. And then we have Diglett with 123.6. We will soon have T-Funky over the line. And then we have Alex up in second with 120.0, and Button being 1 second, around 1 second faster, as well as Mayo on 120.7, and T-Funky with 120. Mayo with 120.2, with T-Funky on a 120.0, and then we have Ryder into second with 119.6, breaking the 120 second mark. But Button keeps still holds on to the lead right now for provisional pole. As Meister sets the time with 133.1, Cobalt with a 150.0. He's not a fast driver, but maybe he can make up some positions during the pit stops. So we have a yellow in sector 1 and 2. No one's beaten Button so far, but Diglett has a faster time in 119.4, making him second. We have a lot of battles right now in the close battles in terms of top 9, with most of them breaking the 120 second mark. As we have Ryder going to third, 119.6, brilliant lap, making from around 12 to third. Cobalt with a 5-second grid penalty for a collision with T-Funky, as Cobalt is in the wall and T-Funky has spun. But Bazooka seems to be out on an outlap now, doing something with one of the William drivers, smashing tires. But Bazooka has a 5-place grid penalty for a collision with Diglett. And I hope he gets far enough in this session to maybe qualify in top 5, or if he qualifies 6th and stays there, he will be able to change out his tires and maybe do the race for a medium, which would be my preferred strategy. So sometimes being 11th is a better choice than going into third qualifying in 10th, because you have the choice of tires. But as we aren't doing a Q1, Q2 and Q3 and only doing one session, which is Q2, we will not see closer times in each session or drivers getting pushed out. So the ones who are 11th and below will have a free choice of tires during the start of the race. So they will probably have new tires, and they could go longer, with me expecting medium runs with Catalunya, which has around something like 25 laps or around 30 something. I can't quite remember, since it was quite a long time ago when I raced here during last season. But anyhow, Bazooka Joe seems to have some damage and is running out of fuel. Plus his ERS is decreasing heavily, so maybe he won't get the time that he actually is looking for, but he will make it up into 9th with a 120.2. If he used a faster tire or softs, he will probably make it up into the 119s even to and then get a 5 grid penalty and stay in the top 10. But I think it's looking to get below 10th to have that free choice of tires, which could impact the race heavily. As we have Blackwell on outlap, mostly outlaps. Can't really see anyone who's on the right now. But we have Peril with a flying lap, going into turn 3 now, or turn 2 I mean, with turn 3. Oh, a little bit too wide, maybe a lot of traction, but that's a good breaking point from Peril, getting into through 4th, now going to 5th. I feel like he's using racing line, but that could actually help him in the end. Now going to 7th. A tight corner, but he keeps it going. Now going into 9th. So we have a swooping turn. And he puts it quite good with DRS on. His deployment is quite high. And he goes a little bit wide in turn 10. With 11 going over the sausage curve, but he keeps it nicely in turn 11, going into turn 13, no 12, 13, into the chicane, making it quite good, but doesn't get the speed that he probably wants, and he's gonna go over the line soon enough, making it in the first place, breaking it with 118s even, making it 118.6, which is the fastest time we've seen yet. So just like in Sochi, he was on pole and he kept it going. And he wasn't on pole at Sochi because of the grid penalty, but he kept it going, and he even came first from around 17. I think he went from 17 to first and kept first place after his only pit stop. So we could see Peril again being on top today. But we could also have the drivers of Button and Diglett chasing after him, trying to get the top spot, as George will soon enough be on pole, but will start his first flying lap of the session. Can make it for the chicane quite easily, going to turn 16 onto the straight. It's good that you get a nice exit from the chicane to have a good speed on the straight, which is quite long, being around 800 meters. But it gets turn 1 quite good and turn 2 as well. Into the sweep, turn 3 sweeper, as we see him fiddling a little bit with the throttle, and doesn't get speed that needs to be used when going into turn 4. On to turn 5, an okay braking zone. He should have braked a little bit earlier, getting it a little bit tighter, but now into turn 7, going quite wide. Should have used the curve a lot more to go faster. Into turn 9, onto the DF zone, taking it in the middle, which I find very interesting. Going through the tight turn 10. That's the best corner we see from him so far. Onto turn 11, jumping a little bit over the curve, losing some control of the car. Takes turn 13 quite easily, and then to turn 13. I mean, into chicane 14 and 15. Over the sausage curve he goes. Onto turn 16. onto the straight. What can he do? It is it into 10th with 120.2. As we see other drivers making quicker times, which I couldn't really see. But all drivers have set times. As Mayo slides in turn. What turn is that? That's turn 3 actually. And he loses all grip going onto the grass. No, that's turn 4. And loses some good turns on the grass, going a little bit wide, spins, and that is his lap ruined. Letting other drivers pass to his own flying laps. Will T Funky make it up for himself with a sector 2 time at 1:58 with that's a +6. It's high risk that he won't make it to this lap. As we see some drivers going out, trying to set the last time they can in the session. Who's on a flyer right now? Ryder maybe? We're going to turn 7. That's a good turn 7, but lose a little bit on the of the rear or in turn 8. Doesn't go that tight in turn 9 as he opens his DRS with a low deployment left into turn 10. There's a good tight turn 10, which is quite useful as we are going to turn 11. It doesn't use the curb too much, so we can get a nice entry into turn 12. Turn 13, a little bit wider than needed. The chicane 14 and 15 taken quite easily as he steps on the throttle, trying to make it higher as he makes it into 6, surpassing T Funky with around 19 thousandths of a second. As Racing Maestro goes -3 tenths, and Colin is currently up by 0.1. If he doesn't have a good sector 2 and 3, he won't be faster. But if he just makes a lap that's like only 500 per second faster, he will surpass Maestro and make it up to 9th qualifying position. As we have Perro with an even faster time at 1:18.6, making the fastest time of the session around 4 tenths faster than Button. But Colin dismisses the lap and goes into the pits. Alex now on a flyer, trying to gain all the speed he can in the second DRS zone onto turn 10. Goes quite easy on the curb of turn 11. As he nearly crashes into Bazooka, who is just trying to avoid him right now. Peril retiring, being very this time as Alex goes faster with around 3 tenths. But Button doesn't improve at all. But now here we will see Mayo Man. No, as we have Diglett with faster time. I wouldn't expect this with a fast time of 1:18.6, making him on provisional pole right now. See some drivers going in, probably quite good with your time, or can I say impressed? Can I say impressed with your times? But these drivers have locked in their times. Hyper, Dead, Ryder, Colin, Mayo and Blacko have locked in their times. Trying to some good times right now. But we have most of the drivers are trying to set another lap where they could improve or may not improve, but it's definitely certain that Button here will probably get third, and he goes up into second actually with him going faster with around 4 attempts, only 200 of a second faster than Peril. I don't even think Peril would expect this from these two, as they have now locked in their times, and we are only waiting on Racing Maestro in the pit and Cobalt making it to the line right now, as he goes wide and he does not improve. Well, that's qualifying for you. We had some good times actually in from the start, but the greatest times actually were at the end of session, with Diglett in first, Button in second, Peril in third, Hyper in fourth actually, which surprised me, Dead in fifth, Ryder in sixth, T-Funk in seventh, Alex in eighth, TJ in ninth, Swanee in 10th, Maestro in 11th, Colin in 12th, George in 13th, Mayo in 14th, Bazooka in 15th, Blackwell in 16th, and Koba in 17th, and last Jacob in 18th. But we have two drivers with position change, so Cobalt will go down, but then we'll go up into the same place as he were, because Bazooka will get the last spot on the grid. But anyhow, I'm looking to I'm looking to see some good overtakes in the first corner after the long straight with DRS, and maybe some carnage in lap 1, because the corner is quite tight, and we'll probably see some drivers going 3x3, wheel to wheel, into the corner. So most of the drivers will probably have to evade. As we're now going on to the formation lap. The ones top 3 are Diglett, Button, and Peril. Peril on the mediums actually, and the others on softs. He's probably trying the strategy that I probably would have gone for with doing medium, as you can go on medium for around 16 to 17 laps if you have a good enough tire wear. I wonder if these guys have some good setups, or if they're using the balanced one, which would probably be used by most of the drivers to but to the drivers that aren't used to making setups. As it goes for me, I usually use my own. Anyhow, we'll soon enough go into the starting phase, with the AI now taking over to make him go onto the grid, setting up for a very interesting race ahead of us, where I hope to see some good battles in the midfield, with those drivers being close in the 120s, to have some drivers who have crashed into each other and getting disqualified from the formation lap. But anyhow, we now go on to the race starts phase, with us having 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and away we go for the Spanish Grand Prix, as we have some drivers scattering, trying to getting as close as possible. As well as we don't have many position settings, as some drivers get squeezed out, and we have some debris flying from the car of Mayo Man from its wing, as the car of George Ryder gets pushed out into the as Blackwell and Jacob both have some problem. But we have Bazooka with an amazing start, going +5. Also Cobalt going +4. But Ryder has the most tremendous start with going -9. And I don't know why Blackwell retired. No, Jacob, I mean, retired. So we're gonna say some drivers looking for the slipstreams, as Alex goes past Hyper with using slipstream, but Hyper is gonna try to get him back, looking to get back his position, going up into the but going up one position closer to what he started. And we'll have Bazooka and Cobalt on the best starts on lap 1, with going +7, making Bazooka 10th and Cobalt 11th. As we had Button with fastest time of 1:16.5, as Hyper taps Alex in the rear, losing some traction, losing some grip, and he's gonna try now to gain the position back. But because of this small mistake tapping Alex in the rear, he has lost time and goes wide in turn 4, losing 2 positions, even 3 positions, going down to 9th. Hyper, what are you doing? You need more control. As the lower field doesn't have the close drivers, as Button touches the gravel, and Douglas is now does now have enough strips to get closer, looking to get past Button on the start-finish straight. But we also have Swanee and T-Funky, Swanee, Hype, and Alex battling out here for 5th and 6th, as the top 3 drivers are quite close. But Douglas will probably try for the slipstream, getting his back his position in first, with Peril going with the first time of 1:23.0. Using the slipstream, he's looking to get on the outside, but he isn't close enough to make the move stick. As Swanee and Alex are now battling it out, going to turn 3 now. But Alex keeps his distance, probably defending as hard as he can, as Swanee goes wide and doesn't get enough traction. But Swanee does have a better braking zone, and Alex does worse, going into turn 5 now. Swanee going a bit tight, you're gonna have to brake a little bit more, and then Alex will push away and make the gap bigger or larger. As we have most drivers on softs, but no, actually it's quite even, and I see some difference between medium and soft, but those who are on medium will probably go 2-stop, as Swanee got past Alex, as Alex is able to use DRS now onto the start finish straight, as T-Funky goes past both TJ, going past TJ, and 2 drivers are touch, which is TJ and Maestro. And Button has pulled away massively with a almost 2-second lead from Diglett. As Peril go down the inside of Diglett, they have wheel-to-wheel battle going into third corner with Peril ahead. We also have some close battles from the 2 Toro Rosso drivers, as Racing Meister gets the 3-second time penalty. But we also have an okay battle down here, 13, 14, 15, no, 13, 14 and 12. But the 2 Toronto drivers seem to be battling it out quite heavily, as we will probably see those two maybe even crashing out, just like two Mercedes did in Spain during 2016. But Digglet is soon enough looking to getting past Peril in using the DRS in the start-finish straight, with him being half a second with 0.4 seconds behind Peril, as he doesn't get the end of the chicane quite nicely, but he will have DRS. So let's see what he can do. I think Peril is far ahead enough to keep his position, which he does. As we have Bazooka going down the inside of Hyper, and Hyper trying to hold on to the inside in turn 3, and he gets past, but Bazooka will get back on him, doing on the inside in turn 3. That was then on turn 2, but Hyper keeps the position, 7th position. But I think Bazooka will go for some kind of dive after the DRS zone, where he will potentially get past Hyper, but that means that Hyper will have DRS during the start-finish stage. So I would suggest that Bazooka actually keep behind Hyper, or as close as possible, and getting DRS on the start-finish straight, where he could theoretically overtake him, as Hyper goes onto the grass, losing traction and just spinning the wheel massively, but he somehow keeps 7th, as Bazooka kindly taps him in the rear in turn 12. Hyper probably has some trouble with the throttle control, but anyhow, Peril gets past Button, who is in the pits looking to get onto mediums, as Bazooka gets an amazing exit from the turn 15 with DRS now. Hyper is watching in vain as Bazooka gets past, but Bazooka is trying to defend heavily, and Hyper being fairly close to him in turn, but Bazooka loses all grip after turn 2, and Hyper gets past quite easily, but Bazooka gets a really good exit and goes wheel to wheel with Hyper into turn 4, but Hyper does a switchback move and goes, but Bazooka will then have the inside line into turn 5, where he will keep the keep 6th actually, and he keeps it throughout 7th and 8th. Going to this back straight rear zone, as two drivers go over the curbing, but Bazooka gets a better exit and is far enough ahead to keep his 6th position 6th, going into turn 11, with Bazooka going quite harshly over the curb. Hyper taking the 12th corner quite or a little bit better than Bazooka, but Hyper going wide in the corner in 13th, as Hyper gets a better exit as Bazooka, and he will have DRS, as he will now have the slip as he finally gets a 5 facing tempo. As many drivers have gone into pits, they will be going wheel to wheel during into turn 1, with Bazooka having the inside, as Hyper has to back off. Maybe Bazooka touched him in the rear right, I don't know. Hyper should probably looking into saving some ERS now, being only on 17%, but Bazooka is the one who has to save the most, being only who only went down into 5th, or only, but he went down into 5% left, as Swanee has some good deployment to use. As Racing Master May when they're gonna pass the Frankers in the pits. Going on to mediums, as the two Force Indians doesn't have the best race right now. But will TJ now get past Colin? He goes for a dive into turn 10, making it past Colin. Colin has to go evade, getting pushed off track, but TJ keeps the position and stays 8th. but will Colin be able to get back the position on the start-finish fight with the DRS if he gets a good enough exit into from the chicane, which he doesn't, and as he go into the pits to get his tire change on on lap 8, and he has to change the tires again. So have the mark of Swanee going in now, or going out actually. Pit stop from Colin at I have no idea where the time of where that is. Probably I can probably see it. As Hyper goes up into 4th, going wheel to wheel on the outside with George, which is the same name as he has. But he's gonna try for a dive into turn 6. No, turn 5. He doesn't, and George keeps the position, pushing away from Hyper. But George having a little bit of a traction loss at the exit of turn 7 into turn 8. As Hyper will now have DRS with a fairly bad DRS management. Anyhow, Hyper goes quite wide in turn 12. I'm going to turn 13 now, as George still keeps far enough ahead, 1 second, to keep Hyper from getting DRS. So yeah, as George will get past him, as TJ goes past, because Hyper is going into the pits for tire change in the McLaren here. Go with the mediums, probably looking to going medium and hard, maybe even hards. Blackwell is still out on softs with T-Funky who has only done 1 lap on the 5th on mediums. As we have TJ now going wide from turn 5, but into turn 7 he is closing the gap to George. And T-Funky sits the first stabilization with 122.5. Yes, DRS gets a good slipstream. Will he go for the dive? He goes for the dive, but he looks up, and George looks out, gets pushed out. But George gets passed on the outside. But TN now he could have a good exit from into turn 11 to 12. But TJ loses traction at the exit of turn 12, and going into turn 14 and 15 chicane, as Cobalt is being passed. George is still ahead of George, but TJ is able to get DRS, as Daddy gets a 3-second time penalty. Cobalt being passed, but TJ won't get close to George, who has done a really good job making sure that he is ahead of TJ. As we have a Button with fastest time session at a 122.5, make him 85 thousandths of a second faster than Peril. As Dead is steadily closing in on Swanee, with a yellow in sector 1 coming from Hyper, who has spun it on the exit of turn 2. This race looked good at the start, with him making it up into 7th, if I recall correctly, and then he just goes and spins in the second corner with some traction on the curb, because some of the drivers aren't used to using traction control on medium or off, so those two drivers will probably have a harder time in the race, as Dead now has DRS on Swanee open, trying to get as close enough as possible. Dead has a little bit older tires, with the drivers of Peril, Bazooka, George and Ryder having the most worn tires with um, them on who has raced used the laps for 10 laps. Just used the tires for 10 laps. There we go. But we only finished as we happy retirement session, but we only finished around 33% or 1/3 of the race. So we'll probably see some other drivers making up into the first part, or we could have Peril again as he did in Russia, in Sochi, where he kept the lead going through the second half of the race, even being first after the pit stop. Stefan gets another 3-second time penalty as Dead is now opening DRS, trying to get close enough to Swanee to get past him, but Swanee still has enough distance to Dead to keep the 8th place. As Diglett got past Button, but Button here is trying to close to Diglett, so he could regain the position from Diglett. Probably going to try to do that at the end of the second DRS zone from turn 9 into turn 10, maybe even diving on Diglett, or unfortunately crashing for some apparent reason, crashing into his rear left. But now Dead opens DRS, no, Button opens DRS. He doesn't get close enough to Diglett, but he will go a little bit wide into turn 10. And also we have the other Alfa Romeo being pretty much as close to Swanee as close to Diglett as Button was. But Button is on the straight soon enough, so he will have the DRS which he opens now. Should increase the DRS a little bit. As Diglett gets first time with 122.1, as TJ gets past George into turn 1. We'd see some nice battles from the Mercedes drivers. As one Dead gets tapped on the outside from Swanee. There's an old gap he has, but now we see Alex actually gaining on Dead, trying to get past him as he is using the mistake of Dead to potentially get past him. With George now, who will have DRS onto TJ, but he won't be close enough to make a difference, other than getting a little bit more slipstream on start finish. That's why sector 1 yellow coming from, it seems like, no, anyhow, Diglett on George. So we're Peril pitting for mediums. For some reason he is still in the box. Oh, migrating host, okay. That's position is CJ into the second, Diglett into third, rush down his which Diglett had passed, Button up and Peril down from Button because he was in the pits. Swanee in 7th. So the two drivers right now are the drivers of Dead, and maybe even Button. No, actually George on Diglett. As George will now have the DRS and is looking to get past the Williams of Diglett, and maybe in the meantime trying to get past the Merc of TJ, but Bazooka has who has gone on hards from last position in 18th actually, or yeah, 18th up into first, or maybe something like that, making the position changes. Goes plus 16, so he began in 12th. as we have two drivers of Bazooka and TJ and George who has not yet pitted. But we will see. George now going into the pits. Doing an okay pit stop, not far enough below, but his teammate won't get past him actually. As we have Dead still struggling to get past Alex, which has tried to attack on multiple occasions during the race. As Button goes into Have I even had my mic on? Anyhow, sorry for if my mic has been off. I haven't realized. Good production rally. As Swanee is now close to Alex, who has. Or if there's something in the background. They're both Alex and Swanee going into the pits. And as Alex had a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. But Swanee will go in first, probably getting past Alex. But Colin gets quite close to Alex. But when Alex goes out of the pit lane, he still keeps 9th. As Ryder goes past George, who has spun and now retired from the race and not going on. He could have gone on and kept going. As we have multiple drivers going into the pits now. But we will have Colin here with DRS, single for Swanee. And Swanee is probably gonna try to dive bomb Colin, which he has done before, but he won't do it this time. As most drivers now are on mediums and hards to try and get to the end of the session. But Swanee has DRS now going wheel to wheel with Colin, who probably wasn't expecting to be wheel to wheel with Swanee, which he hasn't really battled in this race. But Swanee gets past quite easily, as we have quite high gaps as Blackwall spins in the exit of turn 4. We have some drivers who has been left, mostly the drivers of Blackwell and Cobalt, who the 2-Force Indias hasn't been they haven't been that successful in this race. As it goes for Colin now with DRS, gaining on Swanee, who is trying to get past Blackwell at the same time, who has a blue flag at the moment. But here we will have Colin with DRS looking to get past Swanee, but he is 1 second ahead of Swanee right now, so it's a high probability that he won't get past him, but Dead could actually get past Colin if he could gotten a better slipstream. But he will use the DRS now to just get closer to Colin, decreasing that gap, and then trying to get past him, pulling the second DRS zone into the tight corner where DRS zones are most prominently located. Fast straight into his tight corner, which makes for some quite close battles as Colin lets pass Dead. Not really looking for a battle. Colin's probably gonna try to get past Dead at the moment with being 1 second below him, and he won't have DRS because of that reason. Or actually he will, but he doesn't activate it. On my screen at least it said that he did have DRS. with Cobalt with B, who is now one lap down from or two laps down actually from Peril, and Blackwell one lap down. These two drivers hasn't had the best race so far, as we can now see that most of the battles has already taken place. The only one that's close enough for battle, that's the Red Bull of Colin, who is probably gonna try to get even closer to dead, taking him during the start finish straight with DRS on. And we could actually see Carnage for the first time in this session. Anyhow, Alex really close to Ryder at the moment, looking to get the DRS during the finish race as Como goes into the pits. No one really pays attention to him because he is 2 laps down. But Alex will have DRS now. Same goes for Ryder actually, and don't know from who. Or who doesn't. They both have DRS, but who did Ryder get DRS from? Did he get DRS from Blackwell or Cobalt who went into the pits? Probably so. It was actually 1 second. It was actually 1 second below, or close to 1 second, or at least, or less to Blackwell. But Alex now, who is the closest one of all the drivers to get into a battle. As Alex is looking to get as fast as possible to get past Ryder, as Pursuit Joe sets the fast time of session with 1:21 points. If I can say 1.1.2, which is around two times faster than Peril. As Alex and Ryder now looking very close, with Alex getting a really good exit as Ryder taps his front to right. But he has DRS and they will go wheel to wheel into the first corner. Ryder pulls back and lets him pass because he knew that if he challenged it, he would have caused a crash, which most drivers should think about, especially in multiplayer, where most drivers just go for the smallest gap and then just go over. Go over a car just like wasn't Leclerc, it was Ericsson going over Alonso during in 2018 during the Belgian Grand Prix at start of the race. Which shouldn't necessarily happen. Minimum drivers being at least +1 in intervals here, and I hope to see some close battles that are below 0.5 seconds during those last races of the session, which we have 8 laps left of the race. These positions could actually change in a time, as Maestro gets past Colin, who has gone into the pits. But he will, Colin will probably stay 11th and keep going past Mayo, who is currently just in turn 12. With Blackwell and Cobalt trying to unlap themselves from the tremendous tremendously bad race that they have had today, as Maestro spins on the curb of the outside exit of turn 4. We have actually seen some people spun during this race on the curb, especially in turn 2, as Herbasuka with 121.2, with another 121.2, making him still the fastest driver on the grid during this race. As Swanee is far enough below to get DRS on the rider, who is probably gonna try defending for his life all he can. But he will have DRS, but he won't get close enough to make a difference, and only get closer to rider, probably trying to get him during the next DRS zone. Swanee now is getting closer and closer to rider. Maybe could even get past rider during the back straight, which they are going to now. He has DRS. Is he looking for the dive bomb on he dives bomb on the inside? They are both banging tires when Swanee locks up. Rider keeps the inside for turn 11, but on turn 12 he goes quite really wide and opens up the corner for Swanee, who has now taken the position of his own, with Dead not being that far behind the two drivers of Rider and Dead. No, Rider and Swanee, I mean, who are still battling it out with DRS during the start-finish straight, as Rider tries it down the outside of Swanee, but Swanee defends good enough to keep Rider off his heels, to make it easier for him to drive, to decrease his stress, and many other factors. I could see Rider being a little bit infuriated by this, because he probably thought that he was defending well and he didn't need to put that much effort into his defending, which he should probably be working on. As in any game that you play, working harder equals better. In a game such as Formula F1, skill is really useful to know when to accelerate, when to push, when the beat should start, I don't know. Playing races, because you get good coordination, being faster in the corners, getting to know when to brake and how you should approach the corner, and even which gear you should be in, without even looking on a paper or similar to that. But now we have Swanee around half a second to Alex, and he's gonna try just one more time getting past Alex with the 29th lap, who has now started. As Swanee goes over the Solis curb, doesn't get the best exit, but he gets a better exit than Alex with DRS plus a high enough ERS and slipstream combined. He gets past Alex quite easily, and he's gonna just brake whenever he wants. As Alex then goes down for the dive, and the bank tire is going wheel to wheel as Alex gets pushed out into turn 3. But Alex now has the inside line, but closer to the outside, make feel like there's more space there. But as Swanee is holding up the inside line, Alex can't take the corner like he wants, and he is forced to stay back and just we can learn, I guess. But anyhow, Alex will have the RS on Swanee, but it doesn't get past him during the back straight of turn between turn 3 and turn 10. But Alex now, after the chicane, he will have DRS and will be able to get past Swanee, but can he is the question. We have a sector 2 yellow. Coming from Cobalt, who I don't know what he's doing. As Alex got past the rider, and the two drivers are battling it out throughout the third corner, banging tires, and Alex actually comes out on top, but only with a margin of around half a second, which rider could pull back instantly, being faster now. And now he goes on the inside into turn 5, demanding that he should be in 7th or higher. As Alex around under half a second as he spins, loses all the traction on the curb on the outside into the DRS zone. As he has now gone into the wall, his chassis is probably ruined, but you can't know for sure. Pearl gets a second time penalty to multiple warnings, and Dead here, who is going to look to get close to rider as possible with the final lap soon enough being used to claim or to show that this race is soon enough over, and he won't have another chance, so make it count. So on the last laps you should push as much as possible to increase your chance, or pushing your team rather than pushing yourself towards your goal maybe, but don't push like rushing, not that kind of push. But anyhow, is the driver right now to watch, and also Button, as we are on the last lap of the session. As Peril goes in turn 7, quicking it quite nicely, and 8 is the same way. 12 is still a little bit, a bit more. But anyhow, we are on the last lap, so there's a high probability that most drivers won't finish today. Anyhow, Ryder is under half a second faster than Dead, as Parallel now has won and has killed in his time during the session. Same goes for Mayo Man, Bazooka. That's pretty much it right now. As Ryder now has DRS, looking to play public and dive bomb. Dead now. As Colbert is also has also set the last lap of the session with the drivers of Swanee going the line now. Dead sure enough over the line now. And then we have Racing Maestro here, going through the chicane, sure enough over the line. We have Colin here, now going to the chicane. Alex going into turn 12. Mayo Man going into turn 9 actually. Standing back. Mayo Man is really is done, but the race is now done, and we have our winners and our podium finishes. We have the podium finishes of Peril, FX Hidden, I was Bazooka, and if you don't get me wrong, I think it was Diglett actually. But we can take a look for our own here with, yes, I was right. Peril in first, going from third to first. Bazooka going from 17th to second. That's a really good race from Bazooka. They were going down with a 2 down to 3. TJ going from 9th to 4th. Barty going from 2nd to 5th. That's not the best race. Swanee going up from 10th to 6th. To Riot going from 6th to 7th. Dead going from 5th to 8th. Meister going from 11th to 9th. Colin going from 12th to 10th. Alex going from 8th to 11th. Mayo Man going from 14th to 12th. Blackwell 15th to 13th. Cobalt 18th to 14th. George 13th to 15th. T-Funky 7th to 16th. Hyper 4th to 17th. Jacob from 16th to 18 with the bottom 4 drivers have the DNF, or yeah, who has DNF'd. But my driver of the day today will go to Bazooka, making it into second from a 17, even with a 5-second grid penalty. We saw him being at the top of his game today, and the race is now done, and we have seen some good overtakes. Many fights there during Sector 1 and Sector 2, and many passes down into Turn 1 by most of the midfield drivers. So this has been a really good race today. Next, or tomorrow actually, we will be going on to France, where we will see some really fast times from these drivers with the fast flowing nature of uh, the French circuit. So I will see you then. Have a good one.